Hello and welcome to another Solidarity for the People with the People of Iran event. Thank you so much for joining today. Just as an introduction, my name's Jen. I am a climate scientist turned climate campaigner, co-founder of Trees for Birthdays, and our focus this year is on community empowerment for climate action. And we started with an event this time last month, just before Christmas, because I'd been so inspired by everything that I had seen in what was happening in Iran from September after the murder of Masha Jiva Amini. And then with the strikes and the protests and the revolution, and one of the key reasons for really feeling a calling to supporting the revolution in Iran is because actually all over the world, and I can speak from a UK perspective, is that our rights are being stripped away here as well, and you know, from a climate activist and climate action perspective, we saw last week, you know, a dangerous precedent being set with the Atlanta shootings or killings of protesters in the States there, and so it's really kind of the fight for freedom in Iran is our fight for freedom, and really that kind of this is solidarity. We can't fight for social justice without supporting the freedom fight in Iran. And so I like to start meetings like this by kind of setting our intention and our purpose. So we have two brilliant speakers today. We have Raeeka back, who will talk to us about what's currently happening in Iran and the calls to action, what we can be doing to support our friends and to be allies of the Iran revolution. We also have Halaleh speaking to us today and sharing her experience of being part of the 79 Iran revolution, and what we can learn from that. We learned at the meeting at the event last time a bit of the history, the background, and the revolution of 79 was actually hijacked and has kind of led to another 43 years of oppression and the likes in Iran, which has led us to what we see today. And hopefully we can learn from Halaleh how we can make sure that history does not repeat itself this time around. Just to kind of bring us together in that kind of purpose, I would like to just take a mindful moment where we can all kind of come together, feel our connection through being here, feel that solidarity. And to do so, I'm just going to play a song. This is the English translated version of the song Baraye. Maybe I pronounced that correct or not. And this is by Rana Mansour. So as we listen to this song, I would love you just to take a minute. Feel free to close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and feel your kind of purpose and intention here today. Can you all hear it?
For dancing in the alleys and the streets, for the thrill and the fear of getting caught kissing, for my sister, my brother, and unity, for all the times we tried to change their minds and stale beliefs, for the loss of pride, for poverty, for the dream of just a normal life for you and me, for all the children who were starving for a loaf of bread, for the greed of politics and all the lies they spread, for all the mass polluted air we breathe, for all the litter in the streets and all the dying trees, for all the animals who suffer from elimination, for all the cats and dogs who love us without no conditions, for all the tears that seem to never end, for all the images that keep on turning in our heads, for a simple smile to last a little while, for the soul to make a dime for just a glimpse of a peaceful life, for the rising of the sun after an endless night, for all the pills we pop just to get some sleep, for all mankind in our country, for all the boys and girls who never knew equality, for woman, for life, for
Here we go. I hope you enjoyed that and really feel present in the moment and ready to really learn how we can support our friends fighting for freedom in Iran just now. So as I said, our kind of focus with Halaleh talking to us in just a minute is really about that kind of history and how we can learn from the hijacking of the 79 revolution as for history not to repeat itself this time around. And I think that's quite pertinent just now because since the last meeting and well, just in the last week or so, we started to see some division in the movement for Iranian freedom in the revolution, quite ignited by Reza Pahlavi announcing that they would take that he would step forward as a temporary leader once the freedom has been won. And so with that in mind, like this is a space for learning, for understanding and for solidarity. And so, yeah, let's learn and move forward together because divisiveness in a movement is really dangerous and loses our power as in solidarity. So without further ado, I am delighted to introduce our first speaker for today, Halaleh. Halaleh is Kurdish Iranian, and she founded 15 years ago the Musil Foundation, and that is, let me just get up the right page here to make sure. Yeah, so the Middle Eastern Women in Society Organization. And so, yeah, Halaleh joins us whilst on holiday in Egypt today. So a massive thank you, Halaleh, for coming and joining us. And yeah, without further ado, I would love to pass on to you to share your experiences.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased that tonight be here and talking about Iran. And thank you for this opportunity that you created. And first of all, thank you for the songs, first one. And the second, it's just you say that it takes us back to every moment that people are in Iran suffering. And I am a people from Iran, so it's just like a mirror, just I can see myself in every step of people, women and men that they are doing. And I thank you so much for all the solidarity that around the world showing with Iran's situation. And I think Iranian women's movement, and even all the protesters in Iran are really lucky in this period that the whole world turned to them, and just it's a good alliance for them. It's not so easy because there is so many other uprising all around the world, but none of them got it that much support like that. I wish if we could it like a habit for every uprising who is for the human rights, that we can rise up our solidarity and show. But in that stage, Iranian people, Iranian protesters are really lucky. It's true that it started from Mahsa Jina Amini a young 22 girls from Thurs, Kurdish girls, innocent person, but fighter as well, that she doesn't want it to follow the rules of hijab in according to Islamic regime. And then she would just travel to Tehran to have a family or fun or visit. And then suddenly she's been killed. And I'm sure that you know the whole story of that, how it started. I just wanted to mention it that even Mahsawa Kurdish, because their city is from my city, is very close, Sakis and Bana, we are neighbor. Mahsa started, but the two, if two reporter, two women reporter didn't report it, it wouldn't be that noise all around the world. And these two brave and courageous women were Persian women in Tehran. The two reporters who reported on their social media, both of them are in prison, both of them are in dangerous. And after that, Nika Shakirami and many of those young girls in all over Iran starting to be Mahsa and have been killed. So it's not just about Mahsa, it's about 600 people until now. It's about that have been killed, boys and men. It's about 30,000 people, protesters, have been arrested. It's about 6 until 7 people have been executed, and many others are waiting. And it's about millions of family, friends, people who are worried in front of every prison, and they are worried about their beloved one. And it's about more than 30 million people who the whole population is 80 million people. But let's we say that 30 million people that all these years fighted against this Islamic regime, fighted against the Islamic Sharia law that run the whole country, the whole family law, against women, against children. And today it looks like the dream comes over and they are facing an uprising. It's not a revolution right now, but I think it's in the way that it's going to be a revolution. And it's really good news. I promised Jennifer that to start with my private life. Every time I'm talking about that, of course, I'm a human being, I'm a fighter, but still human being, and emotionally it take me back and it make me sometimes upset for a few days. But every time I say that, I have to carry on. I have to tell, because I am one of the witnesses that in open court in future, when revolution succeed in Iran, I will be one of the witnesses against Islamic regime. And I won't talk about all the brutality, either with my family, with myself, my life, and with the whole nation of Kurdish, with the whole women and girls in Iran. 1979, I was just 17. We were on the control of SAWAK, the intelligence group of Shah time, for many years, because my father and my two big brothers were with party politics, and then they were in dangerous. My two big brothers have been arrested for each 5 years, one 4 years, the other 5 years in Shah regime. When they came back to home after the prison, they totally were vanished. It took so long for them to recover. One of them, my big brother, lost the hearing of, and he couldn't hear anymore. But they were hero in Kurdistan. And then they started to be one of the famous people around our city. And they fought it in 2 years until 1979 to create a space in our city for fighting back the Islamic Republic. And immediately when the Islamic Republic came, so they have been killed in the fight, in the battle. 9 members of my family in 2 years have been killed. My young partner, he was just 21 years. We were just fiancés, very happy and fighter, and have a Kalashnikov in my hand, in our arms. But suddenly they arrest him, and then they executed him, and we never, with his mother, found his grave for many years. And I promised her mother before she died, because so many years we looked after each prison, if you can fight him. I promised her when she died in hospital in Iraq, because we went to exile in Iraq after we've been followed, that I will find his grave, because we were both sure that he was executed. But it's a mass murder. 60,000 people have been killed, executed. It's impossible. And uncle, nephew, niece, cousins, 9 people in 2 years, just because it's so bloody. It was so bloody fight between Islamic Republic and Kurdish fighter until we have to leave the cities and villages to the border to Iraqi Kurdistan. When I left my family, they were really worried. But because I was with friend and with the whole militia group, so I started, even I lasted my brothers, the whole those people that is one in my family. So I was like a representative for my city when I was in militia. Every time, if it was a International Women's Day, International Workers' Day, every time Halaleh was one of the speakers. I was proud. When I was younger, I was, I feel sometimes I was more stronger when I talk about this history. And by the age, you know that many years is going, and then I found it myself between 2 continents and 5 countries, just traveling to Iraq, staying in 11 years in exile under Saddam Hussein's rule. And then after that, I moved to Turkey, to Syria, and then to Sweden. And in Sweden, starting rebuilding my life. And then I came to London, because always I dreamed about that I have to learn English and I have to be in London, because London is a strategic place for politician, and I will be that. So I reached to this goal. And but I want to go back in Iraq after all the revolution that happened. Go back to Iran. The reason government, the Islamic Republic, defeated Kurdistan, because Kurdish side at that time was very rebelliant against Islamic Republic. From the very beginning, we say no to Islamic Republic, exactly like women's movement. Women's movement, in the first day when Khomeini said that hijab is obligation for all women, they should wear it, it was close to 8 March. And in 8 March, all women shouted that we don't accept it, hijab. We don't want it, hijab. And then after that, the brutality against women started. But at the same time, a very young movement, women's movement, was born in that day, that they shouted that we don't accept hijab. And I would call it the women's liberation movement, because women's movement is so brave, but this kind of liberation women, جنبش آزادی زن, we call it, it was so typical that from the first day, not just against hijab, against all the Sharia law, they say no. And they starting fighting against the regime. And all these 43 years, they have been under attack, arrested, put in asset. So many youngs followed them. So many organizations that they built it, and then they ruined it. And then they arrested the activists, they sent it to exile, but they never gave up until today. And today, if Mahsa have been killed because she didn't want hijab, if Nikah Shakarami is fighting as a fighter and is around, is famous all around the world, if Sepide, it was a young girl before Mahsa, I mean, a few months ago, it was a little semi-movement around the women liberation that's starting saying that hijab, no hijab. Hijab, be hijab. It means that we don't accept hijab. And then they arrested, they put them, put her on TV, and they make her, after many torture and humiliation and beating her, that say that I do apologize for what I said. But women didn't give up again. So fighting against Islamic rule, especially against hijab and gender apartheid, that Islamic regime was so obvious that it's the only way to put it all the Sharia law on the table is the hijab and apartheid, gender apartheid between men and women. And both have been defeated all the time. Both have been fighted by the women's movement all the time during 43 years. So this movement today is very strong. This movement and their follower, their young generation follower, are on the top of the car and burning hijab. And so many times, even in feminist group of Iranian during time, we call it Islah Talab, those people who trying to compromise with Islamic and Sharia law all the time. They were in between, or they were in the corridor of the parliament all the time, or asking for changes according their fight. I'm not saying that their work is less, but they make it some negative reaction and effect on women's movement, that all the time they are taking side of the regime, like Shirin Ebadi, Mehrangiz Khan, many of them at the time, they were active feminists. But this particular group, they were always against the Islamic regime, and they were working on the young generation, and then they won. So today, this young generation are on the top of all the media, on the top of the revolution. Many politicians, many academic people call it the revolution of women revolution, which is not, which is true, actually. Women starting, but it means that after that, men followed them, which is a unique in Iran's situation. And the uniqueness is that until now, during 40 years, by postmodernism, by specialist postmodernism and kind of neoliberal feminists, always they are educating young generation of women that we must think about that we only women can fight for our right, and nobody else can fight for us, and then we are alone somehow in our fight. It's a women's issue, and therefore we must tackle with this issue. Actually, the situation in Iran show that it's opposite. If you wanted to fight and win the fight, so you must have a good alliance, and the best alliance is men, because you are both equal human being, and you are creating the whole society, whether family, society, community, together, and you live together. So you must support each other. So all these years that they separated us from each other, and sometimes they make us like an enemy against each other. Systems make women and men enemy. A religion make women and men enemy. Especially capitalism. Capitalism is expert to separating all the nations and against each other, expert in separating and making enemy of women and men. And the revolution in Iran showed that actually the best alliance to support women is men. That's why men came and ringed around those women who burned hijab, who take it the hijab, and clapped for them and encouraged them. And then after that, the whole movement starting to be men and women together. And actually, for 1,000 times again, women and men break the silence about the gender apartheid. They mixed up again together, hand to hand, and then they started working. And also, I wanted to say that another good alliance for women's movement is working class. Why? Because all these years, working class was the most group that have been affected by the Islamic regime. And then they have been arrested, they have been killed, they have been in a very bad condition. Their organization have been forbidden, the one from the working class really that they make it, and then they make it an Islamic working group among them. And all these years, they fight it again. 4 years ago, just 1,500 people have been killed, and still the media doesn't talk so much about today, but still it's really important. And this uprising was working class uprising. And in this working class uprising, all the young generation, especially women, were there. It's so amazing when you see the demonstration in those days 4 years ago, that young generation of women started and say that we are children of working class. And those young generation were women activists, all of them staying in demonstration in the first line, and then they weren't scared to be killed. So today, we are turning back to the working class and say that, listen, the unity is really important. We are best alliance. If you wanted a free country, if you wanted equality, if you wanted freedom for women, if you wanted happy life, an equal life, so working class and women's movement must unite it as well. So the second alliance are working class. The third alliance for women's movement is international women's movement all around the world. It's really, really important. All these years, the government starting to closing down internet. All book from school is just Islamic and Sharia law education. But by the IT and internet, by the connection with the international movement all around the world, women's movement in Iran has learned a lot from them. And then today, they reacted and supported them. So the best alliance, again, in any dangerous situation is international women's movement all around the world to help each other, and especially in this situation to help women. So for me, the solidarity of group like you and all other groups that they are starting is really, really important. And you have to take side of which side is important for women. I just heard from Jennifer that you are talking about the Pahlavi group and nationalist group, that they are starting some comedy, or but sometimes powerful, because America is behind them, and media, they are very rich in media. They are have a connection with all the government in Europe, even in England, UK, France, and then America. They are behind them. So therefore, they, by money and by media, they are very powerful, but they are very weak when you are going to the real uprising in Iran. In Iran, the situation is not divided. Still, people doesn't bother about Shah. There is a slogan, and they are shouting against the Pahlavi and Rahbar and Islamic Republic. They say that we don't want Pahlavi or Rahbari or leadership of Islamic, because both of them are Sitamgar, what should be in English, I forgot it, because both are against human rights, both are dangerous, and especially those people is young, but they studied history. They heard from their parents that what has been done with Shah. Why we did it revolution with Shah? Are we crazy? If he was so good, why we wanted to get rid of him? All the prison in Shah time, like my brothers, were full of intellectual people. Nobody could talk. No one could talk, just Shah. And his motto was God, Shah, and the country. So any other slogan was forbidden. And the poverty was so much around the city. It's just starting with slum dogs houses and people all around the cities, and people were hungry. There were no work. All the money being used for all the important ceremony of Pahlavi or monarchy, and then people were really, really angry. People knew that this man is crazy, is just leading Iran to nothing. That's why people make it the revolution, then being hijacked by, again, America, France, and UK government sending Khomeini to Iran. People really were shocked. All the intellectual people, all the politicians, women and men, at the time we all were young. We were really shocked. And after that, it was a brutality started, non-stop. In one decade, in our history, we call it dark decade, because in 10 years, turn Iran to 1,400 years ago, you couldn't see, you couldn't remind if this is a black back sect or is a woman or walking in the street. You couldn't see their faces. You see them in Saudi Arabia. They make it all those women like that. And then all back to home. And then all other things. Prison was full of people. And as I said, so many people being killed. So therefore, people in Iran is not stupid to go back to Shah time. So what they do, that they use it again. America and the country and the alliance, they wanted another Guadeloupe contract that they did it with Shah time. This time they call it little moderna, a regime change. How could you people accept it? They fight, they will be killed. They know this, what is the brutality of Islam. And then they are intellectual people, they are clever people. Why somebody else who lived so many years, who one of the sisters bought it one island by the money of Iranian people, and then going back and created monarchy? That's a stupid idea. Lest they do that, but I guarantee that people show them a lesson to them. These people that I know from Iran, from Kurdistan, Kurdistan say no. So they know that they don't have Kurdistan. And Kurdistan is one of the big places, important, strategic places. And then all the left side, left wing, all women's movement. One of the question of the movement are saying that, why should we accept it monarchy? The Shah had a big sister, but because she was sister, she couldn't get it the place as a queen. Shah was man, and he got it the king. So simple. So why should I choose a monarchy who is against women's rights? And That's the one simple example. And the other example is that in Shah time, it's true that hijab by force have been taken out, and the program sometimes was brutal against this situation. But it's true that schools or everything starting, but that was for a elite of people, for a special higher middle class, especially around them. It was a few women organizations, but all were connected to the monarchy. But all other voices have been shushed and killed and arrested and tortured and sent to exile. So therefore, people in Iran, if they're getting hate with the division, this division that is outside there, that we left side doesn't accept that monarchy win, but we are not going this crazy way that they are doing, for example, making the Iran's regime change. We are saying that people has voice, people must choose, women and men must choose who they wanted, which party politics, what they wanted, what kind of the regime they wanted, but they wanted to create their own regime. Let's they do that. But the reality is that the one who will win is the people inside. So it's better that even America and the governments of England, France, and all other countries who are sitting sitting and talking about the Iranian situation here, that people are very, very different from 43 years ago. Let's tell you one thing. When I was 17, it's true that I had a Kalashnikov and I was fighter. But when I compare myself with Nika Shakarami, the way that she explained it about the word that she wanted, she is so clever. Each 17 years fighter from today is much, much clever and organized and organized than the girls that we were at the time. So my hope is that this time they would never, ever let the bad history come back anymore. So thank you so much for this time. At the end, I wanted to say that recently we created, I know that there is a lot, coalition, support, everything around to support. But in London, we're starting with the Committee for Solidarity with working class and women's movement. It's a kind of trade unions, part of Labour Party, including John McDonnell is a team leader of the committee. Some women activists, including myself, some activists from working class that have been in exile for many years, and then they are activists now. We created this committee, and the committee is open to everyone to join us. And then on the 8th February, we have a big call action in front of the parliament. We have a seminar, we have an outdoor activity, and we really wanted to make it big noises. And the one of the issue that we want to bring it that people doesn't want the bad history repeated again. We are against any decision outside people's power that they are fighting in Iran. And working class are suffering so hard. I know that so many people are waiting and saying that if working class started, so the revolution finished. But working class is so specifies with what he is doing, because if in one day they say that we are against regime and we are doing demonstration, 8 members of the family will be sacked and trapped in hunger, in not have nothing. So therefore they must do a clever way, clever time, using right time to show it and to join the whole project. At the moment they are joining, at the moment they are doing a lot strike, but they are struggling with the with managing the family, with prison, so many activities. So therefore, they really needed support. I will send you all the information to Jennifer if you are interested. So you are very welcome to join us, even from so far. Still, we can communicate with each other. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Halaleh, for that really, really just, yeah, in-depth experience. And yeah, you bring so much wealth of experience and wisdom to share with us today. And yes, please do share the information, and I will yeah, circulate that with everyone. If there's a website or anything for the committee for solidarity for working class and for women, please do feel free to share it in the chat just now as well. I'm going to, what we'll do just now is hear from Raeeka, and then we will open up to questions from everybody to both our speakers. I am very aware that Raeeka cannot stay too long, but Raeeka is a London-based climate activist. She's active with Parents for Future, the Stop Campbell, Stop Rosebank campaigns. She was born to two Iranian parents who fled Iran just as the 79 revolution kicked in. She has a very strong presence on social media and is doing an absolutely wonderful job of championing and amplifying Iranian voices and sharing the reality of what is going on in Iran, as well as what we can do to help support the movement. So Raeeka, I hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's lovely to be here. And Halaleh, John, thank you so much for everything you shared. I think it's always so important to get people's input who are in Iran. We have very different, who were born in Iran. We have very different experiences because of the revolution in 1979, and some of us left and some of us were born outside of Iran as a result of it, and we're all contributing in different ways. And I think also making sure that the voice of the more marginalized groups like Kurdish folks are heard in these spaces. So I just want to say thank you very much for sharing all of that. And I would love that information as well about the 8th and the committee, so I can uplift and share it as well. Yeah, so in terms of what I've been doing, I'm trying to kind of effectively collate and uplift what's useful for us to be doing around the world. So for the benefit of the recording, I'll kind of cover what you can be doing, you know, whether you're in the UK, in the EU, or in the US, in case there's some US folks who want to watch it and catch up. But I mean, effectively at the moment, the government has really restricted the internet heavily. There are protests still going on. It's very, very cold there, so they are being a lot more strategic, but we're not getting the coverage, we're not getting the stuff through, the videos through in the same way that we have done at times, which is not great, because obviously that means that they're cracking down in certain places around the country. But the videos we are seeing, there are big gatherings coming through, and also, you know, smaller activities and protests going on. So the things that you can do, you know, wherever you live, it's the same stuff I said last time. It's the same stuff we'll say the whole way through. If you do nothing else, share and use the hashtags that you see Iranian activists using. I would just be conscious of the fact that there is an organization called NIAC. I mentioned them before. The National Iranian American Committee, I think that's what that stands for, Council, sorry. And they are regime affiliated, regime sympathizers, disguised as not. So just be conscious if you see anything with NIAC on it, avoid it at all costs. But otherwise, you know, share the hashtags and the things that you see Iranian activists sharing to get the awareness out. And just broadly speaking, wherever you live, write to your representative to ask them to take action to support the uprisings. And importantly now, like the hashtags are really important, but on social media, tagging the news outlets and journalists to get them to cover it, because they're not really kind of covering it enough at the moment. So we really need to, while the hashtags are great, it actually needs to be moving into the mainstream media more and more. So that's just broadly speaking, but I think most people in this space are UK. So I would say, you know, first of all, obviously, please engage with what Halaleh has offered to us in terms of, you know, that committee and that event on the 8th of February. I've got a document which I'll stick in the chat, and we can, you can just take and use, which has got a range of different things that you can do. But in terms of the UK, there's the gov.uk petition that we're still, basically we're trying to keep all of the activity moving forward in the hope that we get the UK government's attention. So there's a gov.uk petition, which is around maintaining sanctions and introducing visa bans on people linked to the regime. So keeping those numbers going up there is helpful. There are also protests because, as you may have heard, the EU Parliament wonderfully said that they believe that the regime should be listed as terrorists, but then the EU Council kind of did some other not very helpful responses and didn't come to any conclusion that was helpful to us. So effectively that resulted in a no from the EU, which is a big blow. But the UK, I mean, whatever our opinions on that is a separate entity. So encouraging the UK government to label the IRGC as terrorists, then that's a really important and helpful thing to do. So I'm just really saying, oh, thank you. For everyone in Scotland, there's a big demonstration in Glasgow on the 11th of February, so that's great. There's also in the document, there's a protest on Saturday, the 28th of January, and one in London, and one in Sheffield on the 29th of January. We'll probably find that there are more and more of them being put together around the UK. So seeing them, sharing them is really, really helpful. But basically, the big thing that we want to do is continue this effort on getting the IRGC labeled as terrorists, because once you put them into that category, a lot of other mechanisms start to move forward. And I know the US has already done that. So that's one thing that the UK and the EU needs to kind of move towards. In the EU, it's difficult. We're still trying to work out exactly what the action is, because the council did not list the IRGC as terrorists. So there's one argument that's saying that it needs to be pushed through a member state country. So for example, Germany could say they want to label the IRGC as terrorists, push that through their court system, and then take it to the EU Council. But I think German politicians are saying that's not true, and it should be able to be done at EU Council level. So we are basically being let down by EU leaders at the moment, who seem to be arguing amongst themselves instead of actually supporting the people of Iran. But there is a protest on the 20th of February in Brussels in front of the EU Council. So hopefully that will also start to kind of move forward as well. And wherever you live, I think it's important to understand all of these different pieces. So for folks in the US, or just updates on the US, the House of Representatives there has just passed a bipartisan resolution in support of the People's Uprising. So that's effectively saying we support the protesters, but it's not legally binding, as these things often aren't. So what we really need in the US, and actually you can support this from wherever you live if you're willing to pick up the phone and make a couple of calls, is we need the Masar Act, HR 9203, and the Iranian Political Prisoners Act, HR 9075, to be supported. And in the notes, I've put an Instagram post that I wrote that has all the guidance you need of who to call and who to contact, and how to make that happen. So if we get the UK moving the IRGC towards the terrorist label, if the EU is pushed in that direction, and if the US actually implements the Masar Act and the Iranian Political Prisoners Act, then we are starting to show the sort of legal framework around the Islamic Republic that indicates that their time is up. But the difficulty is that some of these countries and some of these places are still holding on to hope for some sort of nuclear deal, for some sort of access to oil. And we really that needs to kind of be put to bed. So that's that picture in terms of all of those different pieces. So sharing that information, taking those actions is really important. It supports the people on the ground to know that we are, we're actively doing the work that we can around the world. It emboldens them to keep doing what they're doing. And as Halaleh said, really they need to decide who is going to govern them. But we have to get out of the way. Like legislatively, we have to get out of the way. And a really important thing to understand, which is starting to come out more and more, is the Islamic Republic is, like, I think, the largest sort of state-driven terrorist organization on the planet. I don't think people understand how many countries the Islamic Republic's tentacles are in when it comes to terrorism. So if we can actually label this organization as a terrorist organization in the same way that we do all the other ones that they fund, then this will really make a big difference. And it goes, it goes beyond Iran in so many ways. We've talked about the fact that it's a feminist revolution. We've talked about the fact that it's a working class revolution. But this will also fundamentally change the region for the better. This grip and grasp that this regime has on the region, but also around the world, in terms of the terror, the tyranny that they place on people around the world. It will be a real sort of change and shift in the landscape if we can move that way. So I guess a lot of very boring updates, but that's what we can do in diaspora in terms of trying to move our countries forward as well. So that's that for me. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. And Raeeka, not at all boring. Like, this is all really like powerful information to know, and took notes here as well. I would love to go to questions, and I'm going to actually start with a question first to Raeeka, and then a question to Halaleh, and then open it up to everybody to ask the questions that they do have. And I know, Raeeka, you may have to leave at some point during that, and that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to start with a question to you, Raeeka, about so it's in two parts really. Having followed and felt so much positivity, as you say, at first it seemed like the IRGC were going to be considered terrorists, and then it went to the council, and you touched upon this being there's too much kind of, wanting to be able to talk about oil and nuclear stuff as well. But is there any kind of key Achilles heel in that EU council that we can target? And also touching upon the tagging news outlets and stuff. There's so many that we can do. And I know that an account that I follow on Instagram, Nova Media, do a really good job of, not just with here in Iran. But are there particular news outlets that you can let us know that do tend to respond to being tagged and are beginning to cover this?
Great question. On the latter, I don't think I have a good answer for that one. I would just say, in my experience, I think it's a good idea to tag the ones that you follow and that you engage with, because it's kind of like they can see that you follow and you engage with them. But actually, now that I think about it, I think one of my activist friends does have a list of the European, so it's around the world, but does have a list of media organizations that we think will be most likely to respond. So I will share that with you, Jen, if I can find it. I'll ask them for it again and see if it's up to date, but that's just triggered my memory on that. I think because I'm tending to push the information out, I'm obviously tagging the ones that I'm engaging with, and then I have to move on to the next the next story. But I will share that with you. And the EU Council, the Achilles heel, that's a tricky question, because certainly all of us in diaspora, depending on where we are and where we live, are playing a massive game of trying to understand all the legislative governmental hurdles that each country and each party and each location has. So I think, you know, the fact that we were slightly taken by surprise by the EU's Council's response on this is indicative of the fact that we're kind of learning as we go along. But it's also indicative of the fact that of the people who sit on that council and their positions on some of these things. So my understanding is that the two countries that are most amenable are the Netherlands and Germany. They're the ones that are pushing the most to the IRGC to be listed as terrorists. So again, you know, these are just initial thoughts from me, but looking at what's happening in those countries and how they're organizing to maybe try and drive it through their own governments a little bit more is something that could be looked at. But I also think rallies and protests in front of the EU Council, exactly like the one that I said is happening in February, is the kind of stuff that we need to support and need to uplift. I mean, one of the reasons that the EU Parliament went the way they went is because thousands of people and Iranians descended upon Strasbourg as they were having their conversations. So I think that I'm somewhat hopeful that they will be moved in the right direction with the you know, the consistent effort. It's unfortunate and very sad for the Iranian people that this might happen at the cost of many, many more lives before they do that. And the fact that the sort of the understanding and the value of an Iranian life, of a Kurdish life, of a, you know, it is the bureaucracy that's allowed to continue while they move in that direction is really unacceptable to me. But very long answer to your question, but I think it kind of still remains to be seen, but putting pressure on the EU Council as a unit and also the countries that are most interested in moving this forward will be effective. And I do wonder, I mean, the UK doesn't have the influence it used to have on the EU, but I do wonder what the EU will think if the UK moves towards labelling the IRGC terrorists as well.
Thank you so much. I have another kind of two-part question this time for Halaleh, but I will also invite you, Raeeka, to kind of respond after as well. I found it really interesting, Halaleh, when you were kind of talking about that kind of the working class, because yeah, in any movement or in any fight for freedom, it really does come from the working class. And I wonder if you see any parallels with what's happening in the UK just now as the working class is beginning to uprise. You know, next week we see the first coordinated day of striking in the UK. But we also seeing legislation being rushed through, pushed through to make, you know, striking illegal, or to you know, allow people to be sued by their companies for striking, which of course the consequences of that to somebody of the working class is just so much more profound than to somebody that's like in a secure, comfortable background. So yeah, first is like, yeah, do you see any parallels, you know, from your experience of how it got to this stage in Iran to what we're seeing in the UK now? And then the other part of this question is, you know, you gave a really brilliant kind of insight as to why Reza Pahlavi is a kind of dangerous direction to go down. But I wonder at this stage, like, is there an alternative? Like, are there others standing forward, or are there other prominent kind of people or coalitions that would be kind of much better placed to lead a free Iran.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, Raeeka, as well. Young generation who grew up here and then is so active about Iran. I'm so proud of people like you. Really, always make me younger when I communicate with young generation. Regarding the thank you, regarding the working class, both in Iran and UK. Let's go back to the big recession that we passed. And this big recession all around the world created a very hard time for the whole human being. And among those human beings, a working class, and working class I don't mean just those industrial working class that they have work from 9 to 5, they are going to work and then they put in their card. Now working class is so broader of that. All those unemployed people are part of working class. All those poor people who are in the streets sleeping, rough sleepers, are working class. All those women who have to sell their body for bread of their children are working class, part of working class. All those people who are refugees fighting for a better life and then they die in the sea, they are working class. So the working class is so broad and all of them have been affected by this recession badly and still is continuing. And this is a bad side and it's all over the world. It's including working class. So working class in Iran has two big problems. One, an strictly dictator, stupid regime over the head of the family, of their children, of the whole society, including working class, and the capitalist, typical capitalist Islamic all over their world. So they are fighting with two things. One, the Islamic rigid Sharia law, and one, the capitalist according the Islamic model that they are reading. In UK, it's a classic capitalism that is going for that. But because the situation is so bad, so we can see the same effect as well. So many. It's a shame for the UK that 5 million children going without breakfast to school. They are working class. They are children of working class. Even those family who are taking benefit is a part of the working class. They are not lazy people. They haven't been valued in the business, really, to be valued, to be accepted for work, for proper work, and then they will be proud of themselves. There is no work, there is no place for them. Those young people that they call it troublemakers, for example, in London, they say that, oh, all Black people, young Black people, just make you trouble. They are working class. And then, so they have been so badly affected. The good side is that actually, opposite to the former recession, so this time working class is awake and is angry and is saying enough is enough. That's why the movement of enough is enough. I'm a member of that. I'm active in that. I really love it. And this is a working class work in today. And then all those big demonstrations that they made it and the strike that they are doing, they have to do that. And we women, men, everybody, we are responsible to support them because they are speaker today on behalf of us. And therefore, so this is the situation. That's why trade union in the UK are supporting worker class from Iran. And that's why working class always look at the trade union in the UK, what they are doing. They are learning, because the problem with Iran's working class is that because the regime is so dictator, so strict about any organization, any union, anything, they don't have any organization. And if you don't have any organization, your word is not going anywhere. Whenever they are selecting together to talk about something, they separate them, they arrest them. They're saying, how, what are you doing? What are you saying? At least in the UK, trade union is sitting and planning, and then sitting with the capitalists or big people from other side and say that 20% high raise, at least this settled in the UK. But in Iran, it's forbidden. It's like a big dream. So therefore, being situation get worse and worse, yes, it's the same. But at least in the UK, there is demonstration, there is syndicat, union, all the activities, and Iran can't do that. So one of the reasons that why the working class is not coming now, because they never had a chance to exercise their power. Exercising power is really important. Even women, we never had a chance in Iran to exercise our power, taking, even feminism in Iran is so weak. Why? Because even right feminist side have been tortured, prisoned. Doesn't matter. Anybody talk about women, the government will arrest them. So it's such a climate, any group can't flourish, organize themselves. So that's the situation with working class. And this is really important that we support each other, work as a working class and helping each other. Another question about the Pahlavi is that it's not about the alternative we created. Right now, Raeeka was talking about that how they are going to make it the regime as a Sepah Pastaran intelligent group, like a terrorist group. In my opinion, we just wanted to start it. I made it a conference about the Mahsa Amini supporting Raise Voices. And there I wrote it a statement on my name, and 31,000 people in the UK signed it. And I am proud of that. And actually, one of the points, 3 months ago, I'm talking about 3 months ago, I put it the whole Islamic Republic in Interpol as a terrorist. And then so many people say that, yes. And then now European Union, slowly starting. They are so slowly that they never reach. People are quicker in Iran. They are making revolution. They are so slow here. And it looks like that there isn't any desire to doing any serious things. That's why I don't have really trust with the government side. My power, my hope is people, not the governments, not the states. Because those states that today say that, Mahsa Amini, or putting on the London's placard, Trafalgar Square, Mahsa Amini, Zan Zendigi Azadi, is from Mayor of London. But those Mayor of London is a part of the state that 43 years ago sent it bloody Khomeini to us. It's the same state. How can I trust them? I don't trust any state. But if they wanted to do that, nobody stopped them. But I will stop them with all my power to make it regime change in Europe and in America. People fight it not for regime change, for real revolution. They wanted to get rid of regime. They don't want it to change it from this regime to go back to the monarchy. They really wanted democracy. They really wanted the parliament, that all party politics, left, communist, socialist, nationalists, all of them, even Pahlavi. Why Pahlavi doesn't make it a party politics? Come as a party politics. Nobody will bother. Say that, please come, please come. If people vote for you, you will have chair, 10 table for you, for example, 10 chair for you, 20 chair for you, 50 chair for you, like a parliament. But why would like monarchy? Shame on you. Really. So therefore, we don't need a regime change. People are making revolution making new state for themselves. Leave people of Iran, for they are clever, they know what they are doing, and they manage it. Just one simple question, Jessica, Jennifer, and all people are here. A bunch of mullah, very, very uneducated, 43 years run Iran. Why so many activists, intelligent people in Iran who are fighting can't manage a government for themselves? Very simple. They can, but they don't leave them alone. So that's my answer.
I love that answer. Thank you so much. And Raeeka, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, I guess I'll just say a couple of things. Yeah, I totally agree on the first point about the working class and the trade union piece, and the fact that we do have access to these things now. I would just flag that it's so slow that we may not notice it, but we are gradually moving closer and closer to the behavior of the Islamic Republic. I'm not saying it's the same by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, at the moment they're trying to act like we're in Minority Report and that they can predict when a protest is going to turn disruptive and indicate that they will be able to stop it before that happens. And that's effectively moving towards a ban on protest. So, you know, it's inching so slowly, but I just want to flag that, yes, we have these mechanisms now, but we should learn from the struggle of other countries and make sure that we don't end up in a similar position, because we're moving in a bad direction in that regard. And I'm very pleased to see that people like Halaleh are doing all of this work and joining all the dots, and that we're doing the same thing across the climate movement as well, aren't we, in terms of making those connections to trade unions, because we need that solidarity across all of the intersections. So that's the only thing I wanted to flag there. In terms of the leader piece, I mean, I completely agree in the sense that as I keep saying, we need to get out of the way of the people of Iran so that they can determine how they wish to be governed. I think there is a little bit of a sense in diaspora that there needs to be some sort of leadership or some sort of, you know, like kind of external coalition, but like fundamentally, this is a decision for the people of Iran. So I think if we do what we can to restrict the power of the regime around the world, and you know, let's remember that the people that should be running Iran are largely imprisoned in Iran. So if they are no longer imprisoned in Iran, as Halaleh says, you know, they're very intelligent people. They can form their own process for moving the government forward. So I don't think there's not a clean and tidy answer. And just to sort of flag, like I myself, I'm anti-monarchy. So like I don't believe in monarchy. I don't think it's something that we should have. I also understand the value and the feeling that people have around wanting there to be a visible, some sort of leader or coalition or group of people. I understand that too, but I'm not going to pretend to be super knowledgeable about that. My position will always be let us get out of the way of the people of Iran. Let us make sure that we restrict and help them to topple this regime, abolish the monarchy, as Bryce shouting into the chat. Help them to topple the regime so that they can govern themselves, really. And I think in diaspora we have to be very careful, especially, for example, someone like me. I wasn't born in Iran, and even those of us who haven't been to Iran for 40 years, like we can't possibly know what they want there, you know. So it's always holding that in mind. So I don't have a clean answer, but those are my thoughts.
No, that's really good. And Halaleh, did you?
Something.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Just for your information, just imagine if there is any demonstration to Belfast tomorrow, okay? So first of all, you are asking that who is the organizer, isn't it? Who is the organizer of the demonstration? And then they say that Jennifer with her group. And then they go and check website, and then they found out about, oh, they are green. Oh, so they read it about you, and you are demonstrating, and then they choose to come or not. Okay, so this is a way. This is you created with during 100 years fight. It's not so easy for you. So Europe fighting 100 years until to come to this point, isn't it? But I'm aware that at the moment many intellectuals are in prison. But just imagine those young girls who are burning hijab, they are not lamb. Behind them there is organization. They are not allowed to express themselves loudly. They will be killed. They will be arrested like those people in the street. So it's not like that there isn't any demonstration. There is so many youth, women, and politician organization there in Iran that they are making all those slogans or writing. It's not like that everybody is like a rebellion young youth period. You know, youth period is a rebellion period. They are going just writing a slogan or coming to the street. Behind all of those work, there is people. There is knowledge. There is organization. So don't underestimate people in Iran. There is, but they can't express themselves. Otherwise, they will be killed. They will be arrested, and then everything will be vanished. And then, even they are in prison. Why you are creating a government of the worst people? Monarchy, for example, nationalist people. In 100 years, monarchy and nationalists get rid of their people's life. They have enough. Why they are not thinking about the democratic parliament? Why monarchy, for example? And then those party politics, even in outside, none of the Kurdish, none of the left wing, they never say that, oh, we are, because we are free now here, we are going back to Iran and we run the Kurdistan, or other people saying that we run Isfahan and Shiraz. No, we are very polite and precise. We say that we know that there is organization, there is activists, there is leaders. And then when we go back, when they free Iran, when we go back, still there is time that you can create a revolution. I just take it an example from very, very classic one. I don't mind you don't like it, Russian Revolution. It's okay, it's up to you. I'm socialist, I'm Marxist, and I am proud of that. So in revolution of 1917, it's true that it was party politics, Bolshevik and Menshevik, that they were together, but later on Bolshevik get bigger, and then they supported the. But even them with this big power, they didn't make it the government outside until the revolution happened. They went to Russia, they back, and then with all the working class, all the organization of working class, the trade union, that they were there, but all were, I'm sure you read it, for example, Nina book, the history of Nina, the type machine, it's a very, very famous roman. It's talking about that, how working class in secret created an big organization, and the Bolshevik and Menshevik were out, and then they had it organization. I think Iranian people have organization. It's not I think, it's true. I as a politician, I am involved. I'm in contact with women activists in Iran, and actually she's not in the street. She's behind because she's a leader, and she's not in media. So that, what does it mean? This is the organization. This is an underground organization. Wait, the revolution happened, then later on, all the party politics, even Pahlavi, if he believed in himself, can go back to Iran, and if those people who are organizing, accepting them, they share the government with them. Otherwise, don't decide it for them. They are not child. It's a kind of wakalat, they call it. On behalf of people of Iran, I am king. How dare you? On behalf of people of Iran as well, and on behalf of people I was in 1979, I would tell of them, how dare you? I didn't choose you. I'm waiting the revolution happen, and I am a member. I'm going back to Iran, and I just vote for those people who in Iran fight it. So therefore, don't think that there isn't any organization, any plan, any leaders there. All of them are not in prison. Many of them are just planning, working. And the revolution is not like 4 months and it will happen. Many people right now are not happy. They are saying that, oh, there isn't any demonstration. It's very bad. It will be like in 1988. It will be very dangerous. No, sometimes revolution take 1 year, 1.5 years. This is a process. People who are involved in the revolution inside, I'm talking, not about outside, that we are all in peace and quiet, and just sometimes Saturday we are going for the demonstration and showing solidarity. Those people in Iran are sitting and planning and thinking about their balance of power, energy, when it's time, which group we can start in, from where we're starting. All is planning, and we should trust them. We should encourage them, really, rather than being on behalf of them, like in court, being solicitor or lawyer and say that I'm talking on behalf of you because you are very vulnerable. They are not vulnerable. They are real power.
That's amazing and so inspiring actually to hear as well, because that it echoes the feeling of like trusting the process and trusting each other in the movement as that goes forward, and also echoes something that especially in the climate movement, as we really work with the global south, the whole idea of nothing about us without us. And I really hope that is, not just for the climate movement or for Iran, but like for every single person and every movement going forward, that's really something that we take out of it, is nothing about us without us. But yeah, we already got to 9 o'clock, and I would love to open up to other questions. Raeeka, do just, if you need to leave, that's no problem. But yeah, I would love to open up to other questions from the audience.
I just wanted to say how amazing you are, Raeeka and Halaleh. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being such incredible people, and just want to send my love and hugs from Scotland. to hear, because the thing is, this was that I think what you were talking about class, Halaleh, was really important about trade unions, but we are going a bit there. I think what I'd like to find out from you is that do you think that where could we find the intersectionality between the working class and also, and where do we find that within our unions, and how can we be able to move positions to ensure that basically that Iranian nationals' interests are kept to the forefront of strategy of where things need to be, because I think right now, where I see from Scotland, from where in the trade union perspective, I see quite a lot of people. I see the migrant labour being exploited all the time, and I think this is where we could hopefully come together to try and do something about it. And I'm just really curious to explore with you what more that trade unions can do to support you, to support your interests and the interests of your country people. Hope that makes sense.
Do you mean supporting the working class in Iran, or just you are talking about the UK
Well,
issue?
I'm talking about both really. Actually, things this I think I'd like to find out more about how both can be, or both really. Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to connect this working class issue with recent uprising all over the world against poverty, against the all people, or against their own states, because they are not responsible for their life. The life is just getting worse. The climate change is caused by capitalism, and the status doesn't bother. Poverty is just going high. Domestic violence is just going high. They're just saying that it's because of the COVID-19. That's not true. Everything is not about COVID-19. It's about that the shift of capitalism to make it the global, and then make it like a recent situation, dividing all their resources among a few big company, big group of capitalist group, and then the rest of the people just left without no benefit, no safety, nothing. So this situation is just increased all around the world. For example, in 2008, if you remember, it was a mass demonstration of women. Women came with their stuff from kitchen and just making noise and say that we are homeless, we don't have work, we are hungry, we are not in security. And then they were shouting against their own government, which feminist group call it the feminist strikes movement, which was really interesting. It was in 2 years from Argentina, North and South of America, to Asian, and even in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Indian, all over the world, women reacted. For example, working class in a part of you, even in Iraq, after the situation with Saddam Hussein's fall, and people thought maybe America did it very best for people. Young generation, young unemployed generation, starting fighting against their own state and asking for work, asking for money because they were hungry. In Europe as well, if you remember, in Greek, after the collapse of economic collapse that they had, it was mass demonstration of working class there as well. all around, and in the UK as well, in other country as well, the reaction. So I think it was a period that the working class realized that there is no any other way to fight against capitalism, to come to the street and to shout and to make an alliance with other people. That's why one of the biggest demonstration in London, when you look at the people who joined, from migrant, from Amnesty International, from nurses, from school children, small school children came to trade unions demonstration. That was amazing. Everybody supported that, because actually everybody had been affected by such a situation. So I think it's a time for working class to decide that it's not going everywhere. If they have a big power and if they will die of hunger, it's better to do something. I think the idea of revolution, even in Europe, in all other countries, it will be something, not the revolution like Iran, bloody, but what I am saying, that the working class taking step like a responsible and bringing all the people with themselves, and then standing against the capitalists that they are in the power, and then fighting, whether in demonstration, whether on the table of for compromise, whatever it is, and asking for making some big changes. In a country like Iran, revolution is possible because we are, at least I experience, I'm 62 years old, and I experienced with this one 3 revolutions in my life, 1 in Iraq, 2 in Iran. But it's French, I think we are more than French now. In England, never happened. And probably never it will happen, unfortunately. But I think working class has a good opportunity today, because not just working class, also other group of the society are fed up with the capitalism. Therefore, it's a good time that unite against capitalism and do serious stuff. I think this year it was better than a few years ago. Trade unions are more united now. They are planning, they are more doing strike and demonstration and alliance with other union all around. They get more power, and even they affected Labour Party. Labour Party for a few years was nothing. It was like a totally forgotten. A young generation of working class just joined them, because it was some hope maybe in the government among them, which is maybe it will be something. But what is important is a working class self that must believe in themselves, bring all those people alliance, women's movement, teachers, retired people. Every day is situation get worse for everyone, not just for working class. So therefore, it's time to do little revolutionary reaction among the trade union as well, among the working class as well. It's not gonna work like usual, just sitting every 4 years, voting for one of the party politics, or sitting on the table with the leaders of fabric or capitalist group and say that we needed 2% high because the inflation is high. Inflation is 12, but they are fighting for 2%. I think it's needed more radical revolutionary action from trade union, and they have more chance because more people are angry with the states, with the capitalism, that they can be behind. At least young generation and women are fed up, really. And then they can be good alliance in this fight for them. I'm not sure, I'm so sorry, I'm not sure I answer your question, but that's my feeling about at least England.
You know,
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
And you know, it really echoes to me like I'm hearing there time and again that absolutely radical revolution, but as much of that perhaps in the mindset of the working class, you know, having faced so much oppression and now it's like enough is enough, and that kind of an empowered mindset is what's really, you know, we can feel it growing, we can see it growing, and that, yeah, across the board that will create change.
I was in one of the Congress last year, and it was a statement about the climate change, and it was five, and one of the women organization from Iran was there, and I was so proud of that. And apart from all the dictatorship, they are thinking about climate change, because that's a disaster. It's from capitalism. If the climate change lover join the working class, if the retired people, nurses, students, young women support them, we are big alliance. They will be scared of us. It's time for change, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Change place. We will be in the power. They will be down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely time for change. Pauline, you have a question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Halaleh. Thank you so much for being here. It's been absolutely fantastic listening to you. Thank you. And I'm a friend of Dashti and Karen, and I used to live in London. So it's great. Thank you. And Raeeka as well. Thank you so much again. I heard you last time as well. It's absolutely amazing. So I've got a question, but before I get to the question, I just want to say that there's a few of us here on the call living in Scotland, and I think we feel quite revolutionary in Scotland, because quite a few of us, Jen's waving her hands, you know, we're for Scottish independence, and that's to break away from the, you know, powerful British state, to weaken it. But obviously we don't want to, we're not going to weaken the working class at all. We will keep our working class organisations and keep them strong and build on them. But yes, that has quite a different feel than in England. So please come and visit us sometime if you get the chance. You're more than welcome. And then, you know, we can tell you a little bit more, and you can keep educating us as well. So my question back to Iran is, we're having a bit of difficulty about the different flags, and there's a flag that is very popular among the Iranian diaspora up here, which is the one with the lion and the sword. And is that the flag from the old monarchy? And if it is, you know, what do you suggest we do? We went on a demonstration at the weekend, and most of the people were flying that flag. There was one Kurdish flag. Other than that, it was all the one with the lion and the sword. But it was very much, you know, for the demonstration was for the revolution, was, you know, totally against the Islamic regime. So I just wondered, we went and sang because that's what we agreed to do. We sang our song, Zan Zendigi Azadi. And but I just wondered what your advice would be with that flag. I didn't want to get into any arguments with people. I'm not in a position to do that, but yeah, I just wondered what if you can help us with that one.
Yeah, two things that I don't like it in my life. One of them is flag. The other is border. I don't like border. When I look at the map, I just feel that I wish if I can survive more years that all the borders, all those lines will be vanished. So we will have just one word. And then the flag as well. the fighting on the flag, I hate it. But that's a reality. So we have to accept it. The different flag are coming. I just wanted to explain it that the one who is with it's a lion. This is from nationalist former monarchy, the whole history nationalist group, and it's a part of monarchy as well. The one typical that there is a crown on, so this is typical from Pahlavi. So you see the lion, sword, and then yeah, crown. So that's from Pahlavi. The other with lion is old. See, for years have been of the symbol of monarchy of Iran, because Iran always were monarchy until last Pahlavi, you know. So still is the monarchy, is recalled the monarchy all the time. The flag of Kurdistan has a the same color of Iran, but a star, yellow star, you know, star, just star. I think it's not star, it's the sun. It's the sun on that. And then recently, some women movement make it women life freedom in all this color, 3 color, and then they are waving. Yeah, not bad. I would love that Iran's flag will be women life freedom in Google, in Wikipedia, in every country, in front of every embassies, in front of every country, that's the flag of Iran. Women life freedom in 3 color. It's beautiful, but still, it's not my choice. It's people in future, really. Definitely, it won't be Islamic flag that is Allahu Akbar on that, and definitely people doesn't like it, this crown on, because it's a monarchy. And the one we saw, because it's old pictures of Iran, again, like a monarchy, mostly those people worry that they are nationalist group and they know that monarchy doesn't win, but they are struggling and supporting monarchy, but they are open to republic. They don't want parliament, they wanted republic. So like republic, but not Islamic, you know. In Finland as well, it's a republic, there isn't parliament, and then in Iraq or some other country, there is a republic, so it means that there is no party politics. It's just one party. So they belong to this group. So I think, and then the left wing all have red, just red. Maybe there isn't so much left in your city, but in London they are quite good number, and then we all have red flag. But in my opinion, we all bring our flags, but in reality, in future, people decided what they wanted for the flag. But I would say that for English people like you, that you wanted to show solidarity, I think it will be very normal. You have it, women life freedom flag. It's nice. That's what you showed solidarity for. That's what you started with the solidarity for, women life freedom. And people usually, they are not like me. I'm not so bonded to flag or border, or, you know, I'm not nationalist. I call myself international woman, creature, whatever I call it. But so many Iranians are proud of their flag, you know, proud of their country, proud of having border. Many Iranian people are not bad people, but they are very scared when Kurdish people are asking for independence, because they are worried about that the Kurdistan will come out from the, you know, Iran. Probably they it's just because of this nationalist feeling that they have it, and you can't fight them because that's what they are and that's what they think. So that's my opinion about flag. Actually, that's what the situation. I don't know if I helped you with that, or maybe you should have just a slogan on hand. Don't bother about the flag. It's their problem, really.
Yeah,
Look,
I wonder,
Zan Zendigi Azadi. Yes, perfect.
it really reminds me, because I so agree with you on the borders. And I actually lived in New Zealand when I was younger, and over 20 years ago, they were starting the conversation about changing the New Zealand flag. And, I remember being at school and doing designs for it with like Maori and Kiwi and stuff. And still today, it's an ongoing struggle. But I think the biggest thing, I have a vision where, I dream of a world where everyone is free to be who they are, where they are. And for example, the divisiveness that symbolism is amazing. And it is powerful, and for some people, like in terms of identity. But I just wish that we could allow the identity power of it, but not let it be divisive. I know that I accidentally used the Republic flag, and you don't want, in solidarity, you want to be able to show solidarity, and maybe not so much nitpick on these details, but then those details are important. So it's really difficult. But from here on out, I shall use this Zan Zendigi Azadi version. If people want to, they're most welcome.
I will vote for that in future if I have a way to vote.
No worries. I am aware of the time, and certainly I will need to wrap up by 9:30, and I'm sure everybody else will be retiring. Are there any other questions in the audience we can maybe put out to one more before wrapping up? Yeah, go for it. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you. It's been so informative and moving. Really, thank you. My question, it does relate to the conversations about the working class. Specifically, it's about strikes and the importance of strikes, right? So, thinking to what I know or what I've read about the 1979 revolution and the important role of strikes in that, and some of them, I think, quite extensive strikes. And there have been strikes so far in the past few months, shorter ones. I heard a suggestion that there might be ways of supporting longer strikes by people trying to find ways to provide funding from outside Iran to people who are going on strike. I haven't really heard any more details about that, and I know how hard it is to get money in and out of Iran from the rest of the world. Yeah. So, but what do you think about the role of strikes in the coming months, and as people are pushing for a revolution?
Yeah, actually, strike is one of the habit or tradition of working class in Iran. Even they don't have their own organization, or if they have a few organization, it's very undercover. But very soon they can decide for the strike, and then they're going. Just two reasons make them that not going for big strike. One of them is that because the self capital of the whole country have been divided to so many different level, or divided so much. So it means that they divided the working class. They spread out, and then this spread make working class weak in making a big union, a big organization. So creating so many small organizations, small syndicates, small union, or different group of working in different department and all undercover is very hard for them. So hearing from all the parts,
Has Halaleh frozen for everybody? Halaleh, if you can hear us, maybe try turning off the camera. I know that worked when we were speaking before this call. And maybe Raeeka, do you want to respond to that?
I don't know where Halaleh got with what. What should? Oh, she's back.
Back,
There we
yeah.
go.
I do apologize. It was my internet. Can you hear me?
All good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I just wanted to quickly say that. So this situation in Iran is really hard for the strike working, but because it's old tradition from 1979 and actually strike of oil workers that finish it with the Shah time. Therefore, as a diaspora, every Iranian people thinking that one more time, if working class is coming like this year, so they will finish it with the government. So therefore, but that's not gonna happen like that at the moment, because as I said, because of the division, big division of working class, and then because there is an organization structural in their work. But every day there is a strike in different group of working class. They never non-stop are making noises, the small demonstration in front of group of the fabric or people who are responsible or making strike. If they are going for the strike, two things is dangerous for them. That's why they must be very careful. One, they will be arrested very soon, very easy. They will be detected very soon. And then who will feed their children? Who will feed the rest of the family? If the young girls, young boy from university will be arrested, doesn't bother. She doesn't bother. They will be fed by their own parents. They don't think about food. They are just thinking about the prison. But this person who will go to the prison, he must think about his danger as prison, as well as 8 people at home who are hungry. So therefore, this is really important. If you are going for big strike, it's important that it must be money for them. There is, because by the experience, they created some that the working class they make it a budget. They lay down for a hard time and urgent emergency time, and then when any family will be in prison, so they use this money to give it to the family to survive. But how many people will survive with such a small money if they are going for the strike and if they will be in prison? One of the responsibility from our committee is that we are calling for all trade union all over the Europe, including America, Australia, some of them included with us, is that we are going to select money for them, and we will find out how we can help them, that in the case when they are going for the strike and their leaders and some of the poor family will struggling, so they will have support. So who else will support them? It's a working class again to their brothers or sisters that they are struggling. So we are in process to do that, but because we just created this alternative group committee, so it wouldn't be very soon. But working class in Iran are not waiting. They are going for strike. Some of the part, for example, recently, just last week, it was a big discussion about the gas and oil and some industrial part that they are going for strike. They decided to do that. But those people will be really in danger by hunger, punishment, prison, everything. If I found it from our committee that we are going for such a issue, of course I will contact you all, and then it's a safe place. It's a committee by British trade union have been created, and it is trusted, and then we all can help if you like. But at the moment, sending money through the trade union, through the politicians, through the organization is quite dangerous for those people. But I'm sure it will be way to find. It will be way to send it money in future. What is really important, all of the try is that we wanted that people do not suffer so much until they reach to their desire, the long desire. Suffering making people insecure for what they are going to do. So therefore, all the try must be that we must help them to survive during this hard time that they are.
Oh, absolutely. Like, wow, thank you. Like, I'm honestly blown away by tonight and the conversations that we have had, the wisdom, the insight, and can only thank everybody like massively for making this space so beautiful. And just as we head off, as you know, this was the first one that we did was last month, back in December, and it was pulled together rather kind of spontaneously, and now, yeah, I think we're making this definitely a monthly thing. So next time we'll meet on Thursday, the 23rd of February, and the theme kind of want to run with there, really, and we touched upon it here tonight as well, is that Iran is home to so many different identities and cultures, and something that's really important in this movement is recognizing and acknowledging and respecting all of them. So aiming and seeking to bring together a group of representatives that can really cover the voice, the whole diverse voice of Iran. So hopefully see you next month. And I would just like to invite everybody to unmute and really just say thank you to our wonderful speakers. Thank you to Bryce for doing tech support tonight again. And yeah, just thank you for the beautiful space that we've had.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Very much, everyone. Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for pulling it all
doing all the work.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm really happy we did it tonight. So
yeah,
thank you. Good luck with your support, and thank you so much for your support. Really.
Thank you.
Always. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night all.
Bye.